PlayStation has apparently lied to the EU about the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal. So the Xbox Activision Blizzard versus Sony versus PlayStation Sega is continuing, as we have seen a subpoena from Microsoft to Sony to get information from them. And we don't know exactly what this information is going to be, but it has to do with information about their content that is going to be coming out. I would assume something with a release schedule where we potentially may see some of the stuff that PlayStation is going to be releasing in the future in order to show, hey, like they have all of this content. It isn't imperative for PlayStation to have Call of Duty in order to survive. Yes, Call of Duty makes PlayStation the most amount of money every single year. PlayStation has so many big games that they release, so many huge first-party games, as well as major third-party deals that aren't on other platforms. They have more than enough content they could easily thrive and survive, which they are obviously doing right now, as they're ahead of Xbox in many ways in terms of profits, console install base, all of those types of things. So it's obvious that PlayStation is doing something currently that is putting them ahead of Xbox. Now, going forward into the future, I personally think the ecosystem, the subscription service is going to be the way to be able to be the leader in the gaming industry. And I think Xbox is well on their way there with Xbox Game Pass and their current ecosystem, allowing people to play everywhere. And PlayStation knows that they're not going to be able to catch up to Xbox Game Pass, strictly from the fact that, I mean, Xbox, Microsoft are a trillion-dollar corporation, and they have the resources to continue to build this thing out. And they've also been building it out longer than PlayStation. They've done an incredible job, and they're putting all of their first-party games within Xbox Game Pass. PlayStation right now has said they aren't doing that. I do think they eventually will put their first-party games into PlayStation Plus, but as of right now, they are not willing to do that. And if they lose Call of Duty to a subscription service, I think it will push PlayStation even further into doing more for their subscription service, which at some point will mean bringing their first-party games over. But that's just my speculation and my guess as to what is going to happen. Now, when it comes to the deal with Xbox and Activision Blizzard, the main thing that they're arguing on, of course, is Call of Duty. And we've seen Xbox come out and make huge concessions for Call of Duty, for a franchise that if they were to own, they could, if they wanted to, keep it completely exclusive to Xbox. But they've come out, they've offered those 10-year deals to Nintendo, to Steam, to PlayStation. But PlayStation is saying to the EU that Xbox did not offer parity for Call of Duty. And we have this tweet here from Frank X. Shaw, who is currently the lead communications for Microsoft. And he had this to say. He says, "I hear Sony is briefing people in Brussels claiming Microsoft is unwilling to offer them parity for Call of Duty if we acquire Activision. Nothing could be further from the truth. We've been clear. We've offered Sony a 10-year deal to give them parity on timing, content, features, quality, playability, and any other aspects of the game. We've also said we're happy to make this enforceable through a contract, regulatory agreements, or other means." Now that tweet there is interesting because you think about Call of Duty, you even think about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the most recent one. In terms of parity, it isn't there. I mean, PlayStation has features available within Call of Duty that isn't available on other platforms right away. If you remember this was funny when this happened because this got announced like very close to a time where there was a big moment in this Activision Blizzard acquisition stuff where Sony was making their claims about Call of Duty and Microsoft was fighting back. And it was the exclusive benefits for PlayStation players. Because as we know, PlayStation still has all of the marketing rights for Call of Duty, which they are going to lose when or if this deal goes through. And this was the stuff that if you were on the PlayStation platform, the Xbox players would not get. So there already wasn't parity in terms of the content and features between all of the versions of Call of Duty, something that PlayStation right now is complaining about, that they want to make sure is there, where Xbox has said, we'll give you that. We don't even care about that, about Call of Duty. We're going to give it to you for 10 years right now, and we'll give you parity on everything. And when it comes to the fact that they've said that they want to even make a contract and regulatory agreements for this, it's funny because you remember what Gabe Newell said. He said about Xbox that he didn't even care. He's taking Xbox for their word because they haven't broken it and they've been good to work with. Whereas PlayStation is not taking, obviously, Xbox for their word. They're going and saying that they weren't offering that, which I think it was pretty public that they were offering that with the 10-year deals when Phil Spencer came out and made those tweets about offering 10 years to Nintendo, to Steam and PlayStation, who hadn't accepted it. It continues on here, say Sony is the console market leader and it would defy business logic for us to exclude PlayStation gamers from the Call of Duty ecosystem. Our goal is to bring Call of Duty and other games, as we did with Minecraft, to more people around the world so they can play them where and how they want. So there you have it. I think it's pretty obvious if you're a regulator and you've just taken a look at anything that's been posted on Twitter and any of those documents that have come out where you could see the concessions that Xbox and Microsoft were willing to make, that the thought that PlayStation isn't going to get parity or feature content parity, all that type of stuff, if this deal goes through, is absolutely false. We know that from what we've seen posted from Phil Spencer and from Xbox, again, unless they are just lying about all of this, which I absolutely don't think that they would be. But obviously Xbox, with a guy like Frank X Shaw here, are also trying to get out in front of this to make sure that it's clear that that is something that is further from the case. And we'll wait to see what happens with the EU and if they look further into these claims that PlayStation is apparently making in Brussels, saying that Microsoft is unwilling to offer them the parity. And I think if they do any research, any quick research, it won't even take that long, they'll find that those claims wouldn't be true. And when it comes to these concessions, I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty obvious to me that for Xbox and for this deal, they're willing to make tons of concessions, pretty much anything to try to get this thing to go through, because I think for Xbox, even Phil Spencer said this, the most important thing to help grow their business and help grow as a leader in video games is going to be that mobile side of things that they want to grow out, which I don't really care too much for when it comes to this deal. I've said this in multiple videos previously that if they make all of these concessions where some of these games don't come onto Xbox Game Pass, I will be very disappointed. The main reason why when they announce these types of deals, as somebody who plays mainly on Xbox, is that games are going to be coming to Game Pass. These are more titles coming over to the service and more day one titles, like Call of Duty. Every time they release it coming into the service day one would be awesome. Crash, Spyro, all of their other titles, maybe a new Tony Hawk game, just so many cool titles that would be dropping day one into Xbox Game Pass, which is what has me excited. So if that's not available for this deal to go through, then honestly don't really care too much. But we're going to stay up to date on what is going on when there is big stuff like this, because I thought this was pretty interesting that Sony has the audacity to actually go and say that they didn't offer them when it's all public out there on social media from Phil Spencer and from Xbox, that clearly they have made tons of concessions when it comes to Call of Duty and are willing to go as far as making sure that it is equal across the board. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think is happening at the EU? Do you think that they are going to side with Sony? Do you think they're going to side with Microsoft? So let me know your thoughts on everything that's going on with this deal. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.